Something different today. I wanted to make a video about hearing loss and tinnitus, which is something that a lot of musicians experience throughout their career, and people in general. There are jobs that have where you're more exposed to noises or constant noises, and constant loud noises, should I say? And so I wanted to share a few, tricks and ideas and things that I do. I've had tinnitus mostly in my left ear for quite a while now because obviously I tend to be on the right side of the drums and bass and a lot of the stuff. And we wear lots of in-ears a lot. And I think I went through the early stages of the in-ears development where it wasn't as high tech as now with limiters and apps where you can. I'll show you later. You can make some adjustment to the EQ and compression and something that helps you a little bit. And also in-ear monitoring wasn't as evolved as it is now, so to speak. So what's tinnitus? Tinnitus is, I'm pretty sure you all know, it's like a ringing in your ear. It can be of different types, like hissing or like a pulsating sound. I have more like a high-pitched sound, so to speak. And I have a little bit of hearing loss. And obviously, I'm not completely deaf, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this. But throughout the years and because of aging, you experience some hearing loss because not just the day-to-day noise. As a musician, I'm always producing music, recording, going to gigs is more than just being exposed to the day-to-day noise of like cars and watching TV and stuff like that. So I want to just share my experience and give some tips. Again, I'm not a doctor, but if you have a serious problem, just go see a specialist. But I have developed some mechanisms, so to speak, to try and maintain my hearing health, so to speak. And I wanted to share it. My channel is all about sharing, so that I'm not trying to teach anything to anybody. It's just about conversation and sharing my experience of 40 years plus of playing guitar. I made some notes here, so if you see me read, I'm reading from my laptop. So I've been playing for about 43 years now. I started when I was about 8 years old, and I started doing gigs almost right away when I was in my early teens. And I got to a point where I was doing literally hundreds of gigs per year. I would say on average throughout my life, I must have done 200 gigs per year. And not as much now, obviously. I'm a bit older. I'm trying not to kill myself. But I enjoyed it. I did it because I enjoyed it. Obviously, it was a work, so I could, make some money. And then obviously I would teach, I would produce music, I do stuff like that. So you're always exposed to sounds that are quite sharp, loud, unfiltered, because obviously there are other stuff that we have. When we listen to music, or if you listen to music on Spotify, is mastered in a way that is pleasant to listen to. This is not great to listen to music through headphones or in-ears for extended periods of time, but it's not the same as sitting next to a drummer hammering on a snare without any compression, limiting, or anything like that. It's a different thing. Or having your amp next to you where you're playing funk, which is quite like sharp sounds, so to speak. So the thing that I've had for many years is molded earplugs, which are these. I'm going to post a picture. These are ACS. And basically the way they're done, they're made, they are basically they make an impression, a mold of your inner ear of the canal, and then they shape a silicone mold with a filter at the back, and you can change them depending on how much reduction you want. Those that I have are -17. I have another pair somewhere which is a bit heavier, so to speak, but I found that the -17s are -17 dBs are those that kind of allow me to hear the music, because obviously with guitar is difficult. I found that these are great for bass, because obviously bass, even when you remove the mids and the top end, which is more damaging, so to speak, you can still hear the bass quite clearly. where the guitar sits in that kind of mid-range that it's a bit, that's the damaging bit, so to speak. I just put it that way. And obviously, when you put earplugs, it becomes difficult to hear the attack, so to speak, of the guitar. So the way I do it, if it's really we get to a point where the level is crazy, when I do organic gigs, meaning with the amp and the drums next to you without any in-ears, then I use these if my ears are a bit tired. Sometimes I don't feel the need to if it's a jazz gig or like a relatively low volume gig. I still do it organically without earplugs. But if I get to a point where it's just damaging and I have to play for many hours, then I will use these. Play in a place that is noisy. When I've finished playing, I will stick this in, especially at the end of the night where they tend to play loud music through the PA and I have to pack up. If I have to do it myself, then I will definitely wear these or keep my in-ears in. Another little trick, I'll just keep my in-ears in while I'm packing up. If it's one of the smaller gigs where you have to do everything yourself, so to speak, which I still do. And so these I always have them with me. I wear them if I go to see a gig that is loud, if I feel that my ears are tired, or if I just feel that you get that impression that people started shouting in your ears, I wear these. Don't feel ashamed of doing, I know a lot of musicians are a bit kind of aware of doing this less and less, luckily, and I feel that this is a good thing. They are a bit, as a musician, you're always aware of, as soon as you say, oh, my hand hurts a little bit, you feel that people are not going to call you anymore. But it's just, so you're always a bit wary of talking about stuff like this. But it's good that these things are becoming more and more available. If you're in the UK, you can get them through, if you're with the Musicians Union, you can get them for about £30-40, around that amount, through a scheme called Help Musician. I will have a link in the description, and you can get the ACS, which are usually over 100, between 100 and 150. As I said, I have the minus 17 dB. I found that these are good. They take the edge off, but you can still hear the music. If you really want total, but these are quite even. If you start shoving stuff in your ears, like random things like foam earplugs, those aren't very good because you cannot hear anything. And obviously that's damaging for people that are listening to you because you start turning up the volume. So in-ears, be aware of the EQ curve of in-ears. There are plenty of websites that show the EQ curve of in-ears, and you want something that is a bit of a cut around 3-4K. That's a very harsh frequency. And you will notice that when you go for a test, a hearing test, that's an area where musicians usually have hearing loss. Okay, ears are quite sensitive in that area because it's the same areas as speech, and obviously your ear are not sensitive in the same way for frequencies. They're more sensitive within frequencies that are around speech, and that's like the mid-range, the high mid, so to speak. So I tend to look for in-ears that have that kind of curve, like the 535s. The Shure 535s have a bit of a dip in that area. And if you use in-ears that are for audiophiles, they don't have the same curve as monitoring for musicians. It's slightly different. So check on the EQ curve. Just Google it. You will find something and it usually matched to the Harman Kardon curve. Like it's a particular curve that is more neutral, so to speak. And what you want also, like, try to avoid like what they call the chi-fi, the KZ and stuff like that. Some are okay, but some have actually a boost in their area because obviously they want to give presence to the sound. Those are not monitoring for musicians. Those are in-ear monitoring for just people that listen to music. So they want to hype things up, make them more, more exciting, so to speak. And so that's not that kind of boost on the 3K for music is not very good because you will be listening to a kind of roughly mixed band mix for 2, 3, 4 hours. Sometimes if you have a rehearsal, then maybe 2 or 3 sets. Okay. So you want to have that. Another thing you can do, most IEM apps, if you're using, if there's a mix engineer, you can ask if they can EQ your monitoring. But nowadays, a lot of gigs where you are not maybe like on a huge stage, you will have your, your app that you have on a device like a phone or a tablet, but you can. I will put a screenshot of an app, and you can basically EQ a certain section out. And again, usually that 3-4K, I try to put a little bit of a dent there, a notch, and I try maybe to add a bit of compression, so that that little bit of compression glues the whole band together. Not extreme, just a tiny bit, and take some of the peaks out and bring some of the instruments up so that I can keep the volume down. Okay. And a trick that I found, if I can hear my tinnitus, I try to keep the volume under that. That's a bit like of a limit. If it's over that, if I cannot hear my tinnitus, that means it's too loud. Okay. And so that's that's a little trick. A lot of in-ear monitoring packs, they have a limiter, which is a good thing. So you want to make sure that that is engaged. Another area is like the 800 hertz that can be too punchy. So if you feel that the sound is too kind of immediate and punchy, you want to remove some of that as well. Okay, so the balance, you want to try and achieve balance between noise and silence. You want to try and always have like an hour of silence in your routine during the day that we can rest your ears, apart from the hours of sleeping. And if you feel that you are still in a noise environment, stick your your earplugs in for an hour or so. And give you basically give your ears time to recover. And if they're fatigued, you're in a session, give yourself some time. Take a break. Take a break every hour, 10 minutes, or couple of hours if you're in a session where things are being paid. So, but try to build in a break from time to time. Go make yourself a cup of tea or something. So, don't, because I know that these things music and productions is stuff that we are not only we enjoy it, but we can become a little bit kind of obsessed about. Like I'm going to finish it. I can't take a break until I finish it, or I'm in that flow of work. The workflow, so I don't want to stop. Think long term. Think this is a marathon, not a not a bursts kind of thing. Not like you don't want to burn out. Okay, so for some people, a couple of things. People tend to, in production especially, try to use monitors rather than headphones for hours if you can. I know, let's say, if you live in a flat rather than a house, it's more difficult to use. You're more aware, mindful of using speakers. Try to use it at a low volume. Again, if you have tinnitus, keep that as a reference level. You don't want to put too much volume above that. And again, you want to try and protect, especially when you're mixing things that have a lot of spikes. Try to remove that. And if your ears start to hurt, give yourself a break. So, because you're trying to protect intelligibility, you're trying to protect that area that give you intelligibility, speech, being social, which is very important. The first thing that goes when you cannot hear is being social, because you don't feel like going out talking to people because you can't hear them. So, or you need to wear earplugs and stuff like that. So, try to protect your ears. If you feel tired, take a break. Okay. Again, all these are my experience. So, if you have any comments, just leave them in the comment section. For this, in this case, obviously, you want to keep active, and this is very important. You want to have a good diet. You want to be active physically, because jogging and keeping that blood flow, it all helps. So you want to socialize. You want to go out. You want to avoid maybe unhealthy stuff like alcohol. Like keep it to a minimum. Now, I'm not saying that you should be a monk, but be out, socialize, be active, have a good diet, have a healthy lifestyle, so to speak. A couple of apps that I want to suggest. The first one is Auto, OTO. I'm going to leave a screenshot. And because it's about some tricks to, because obviously tinnitus is not a physical thing in your ear. It's something to do with an area of your brain that gives an emotional importance to that annoying whistling sound that you have in your ear. So it makes it a bit like it makes it important. Okay, so this app allows you to refocus. It's a bit like having something always in front of your eyes. It just puts it to the side so you can get on with your life, so to speak. So it kind of helps you, trains you to switch off from giving importance to that sound. So that sound becomes like a background noise. Because if you think about it, when let's say if you're talking to somebody, there is noise around you. There's noise all around you, and your brain filters out noise that is important and noise that is not important. Like if you had some noise cancelling headphones on, so to speak. So the brain has this power of just putting some noises in a different at a different volume to what you give an importance to. Let's say if I'm having a conversation with a person and there's a lot of noise around me, my brain is going to focus on those frequencies and that speech, okay? And it's going to try to filter out everything else. So you can do the same thing basically with a tinnitus. You can kind of try to remove the emotional importance that has, that your brain always is trying to focus on that. So you basically just put it on the side and give other sounds importance, so to speak, like hear other sounds. dB meter. So let's say if you're mixing or if you're at a loud gig, you have this dB meter app, and will tell you the how loud the environment is where you are in decibels. So you know that 60 to 80 dB is just speech conversation, and everything around 100, 120 is quite loud. Okay, a gig usually a rock gig is around 100, 120 dB. I never go anywhere if I'm going into like a bar or a restaurant or somewhere where there will be background music or live music without earplugs. Okay, because I want to give that time, the rested time, to music that I am playing. Okay, so I want to have my ears nice and rested from when I am playing, not from when I'm going out to listen to some random music played in a bar or people shouting in a bar or even just another band playing. Okay, I can listen to it through custom made earplugs. Another thing that I do on and off. I'm not a massively into meditation, but I know that it helps relaxing with stress management, which makes tinnitus worse, and the tension, anything to do with tension, makes your tinnitus worse. As a matter of fact, I know people that go to have a chiropractic adjustments or massages, and that helps them, because obviously stress and tension makes the tinnitus worse, apart from just being bad overall, I would say, in general in life. There's another thing, again, I don't use very much, as in that Auto app, which is like white noise generators, or things that create, let's say, something that is maybe a bit more pleasant, like the sound of rain or the sound of the forest, which again is all about distracting yourself from that high-pitched sound. Because some people, I'm not at that point, but some people struggle to fall asleep. Okay, because they connect too much emotionally with that high-pitched sound that they cannot switch it off, so to speak. I'm not at that point, fortunately, but I know that a lot of people are helped by these kind of white noise generators or like rainfall generators, stuff like that. Which, I mean, there are plenty of apps on the Play Store. In general, stay away from using. I mean, unless you are playing and you need to use in-ears, don't use in-ears to listen to music when you're walking around. I know a lot of people go for a walk and listen to podcasts with in-ears. I wouldn't do that. Maybe just keep it to a very, very, very low volume. And again, it makes you a bit unaware of what's going around you. I listen to a lot of music just for production, and when I'm out and having a walk, I just want to listen to nature. I want to listen to and be aware of what's around me. I don't want to listen to more music. Okay, so so I try to stay away from that, so to speak, to like walking around listening to music. So I just want to give my ears and my hearing purely to when I play or when I'm producing music. Another thing I want to say: avoid, as much as this is my living, and I want to do it as best I can, and I enjoy doing it, and I do it for hours a day. If I include teaching, production, and gigs, and socializing as well, which is part of the job. Going out and let's call it networking. Terrible word, but I would say avoid the grind culture. I did it for years. I'm from the north of Italy, which is quite industrialized, and I'm from that mentality of you need to work every day, which made me comfortable to a certain extent. As I worked for many years nonstop, and now I can, I don't have to work. Luckily, hopefully, will last for the rest of my life. But in general, I would say it's a marathon, not a sprint. Avoid grind culture, because I feel that I've damaged some part of it. Let's say my hands are not in as good shape as they used to be. As much as I can play and I do gig, and as I said, luckily now I can do the gigs that I enjoy more than those that I have to do. But in general, I would say be mindful. If your hands hurt, stop for take a break. Avoid grind culture. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't play seven. I taught for 7 hours a day. I wouldn't do it again ever. Um, Starting at 8 in the morning playing guitar without stretching or warming up, it's not good. It's not a good thing. So always have a buffer in terms of money. Always try to save, and that will allow you to be a bit more choosy with the gigs that you do. So in general, do things mindfully, and continue to enjoy music for the long term, because you want to be able to hear, and you want to be able to listen to every type of music. Let's say now I struggle to hear just piano solo, go to a classical concert, which is beautiful music, because obviously there's a pitch that might not be in the same key going on all the time. So so take care of the long term, and I really enjoy seeing people that put these kind of videos out. So I wanted to make one myself, and just add a bit more of my experience, so to speak, and some of the tips and tricks that I use to keep the longevity of my system, so to speak, so that I can play for many more years. And yeah, that's about it. Sorry that this became probably a bit of a long video, but I felt that it was something I wanted to make for a very long time. So I thought of doing it today. And as always, if you feel that this video was of any help to you, please share it with a friend through social media. Check out all the links in the description if you want to make a donation. There are many things that I sell through on my site, so my shop, so you can also do with guitar and music, so you can at least you get something out of it. But in general, if you want to share them through social media or any of the channels that are available online, please do so. And that's pretty much it, really, for today. Take care. Bye bye.